I'm not impressed by your performance, and I look forward to fight you in the near future.
MMA is a fickle mistress. One moment you're the heavyweight champion of the world, the next you're knocked out by Ray Mercer. Yet there's a number of high-profile names that overcame big losses to return to the spotlight. This is a list of fighters who saw their careers written off by many in the sport, only to revive their fortunes against all the odds. Welcome to INC, and these are the 5 biggest career turnarounds in MMA history. Number 5. Andrei Arlovski. Andrei Arlovski is one of MMA's all-time heavyweight legends, but for many his greatest career achievement was his unlikely return to prominence at the turn of the decade. After leaving the UFC in 2008, Arlovski's MMA career appeared on the wane, suffering knockout losses in 4 straight fights, with many calling for the Belarusian to retire from the sport. After switching to Greg Jackson's training camp in 2011, Arlovski was a fighter reborn, winning 7 of his next 8 fights and making an unlikely return to the UFC in the summer of 2014. There, Arlovski's form continued, scoring wins over Brendan Schaub and Bigfoot Silva before one of the all-time heavyweight performances against Travis Brown at UFC 187.
Travis is so wobbly he can barely stand up! Andrei with the uppercut!
Beautiful uppercut! Again! It's unbelievable!
From out of nowhere, the 36-year-old Arlovski was being spoken about as a potential heavyweight champion, leading to a match with Stipe Miocic with the #1 contender spot on the line. The obstacle, however, would be too much to overcome, as Arlovski saw his Cinderella run end by a first-round knockout. 5 straight defeats have seen Arlovski return to the heavyweight doldrums, but having overcome worse odds during his career, it'll be hard to rule out the pitbull anytime soon. Number 4. Fabrizio Verdum. Fabrizio Verdum is widely considered one of the greatest grapplers in MMA history, but the Brazilian's rise to the sport's echelons came after a decade of unfulfilled potential. A black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, Verdum signed for the UFC in 2011, having amassed a solid career in Japan with 9 wins and 2 losses. Despite high expectations, Verdum struggled to find his feet in the octagon, going 2-2 in the promotion and being released by the UFC after a one-sided defeat to Junior dos Santos. After a 9-month layoff, Verdum resurfaced in Strikeforce, where wins over Mike Kyle and Bigfoot Silva led to a match in 2010 against heavyweight legend Fedor Emelianenko. There, Verdum lured the Russian into his guard in the first minute of the fight, trapping Fedor in a triangle choke and creating one of the biggest upsets in MMA history.
Oh, he's tapping! He's tapping! Fedor losing for the first time! Fabrizio Verdum! Unbelievable!
The win helped Verdum secure a return to the UFC, with 5 wins over many of the sport's best, earned him a title shot at UFC 188 against heavyweight champion Cain Velasquez. After an even start, Verdum took control of the fight at the start of the second, staggering Velasquez with right hands before finishing the champion by guillotine in the middle of the 3rd round, becoming the 2nd oldest UFC champion at the age of 38. Number 3. Mack Brown. Mack Brown may not have been the most imposing fighter, but his mix of hard work and fighting spirit made him an unlikely face of the UFC welterweight division. After competing on the 7th season of The Ultimate Fighter, Brown made his UFC debut in 2008, defeating fellow alumni Matt Arroyo in a one-sided win at the TUF finale. After the fight, Brown struggled to find consistency in the UFC, amassing 4 wins and 5 losses, and being on the verge of being cut by the promotion after losing to Seth Brzezinski at UFC 123. After claiming his first finish in 3 years, Brown began a remarkable run of form, winning his next 7 MMA fights, including knockout wins over Mike Swick, Mike Pyle, and a Fight of the Night performance against Jordan Mein. After beating Eric Silver at Fight Night 40, Brown has affirmed his place as the informed star in the UFC, and earning a match with Robbie Lawler to determine the #1 contender for the welterweight title. Brown gave his all in a hard-fought contest, but Lawler's speed and precision would ultimately prove too much, the Californians securing the win by unanimous decision. Concussion fears have seen Brown's career come to a halt in recent months, but his rise to prominence against all the odds have helped make him one of the UFC's most unlikely heroes. Number 2. Mark Hunt. With knockout power and an all-action style, Mark Hunt is one of the UFC's most beloved fighters, a far cry from the out-of-form journeyman not even wanted by the promotion. After bursting on the scene with a win over Wanderlei Silva, Hunt's career in Pride Fighting Championships had ground to a halt, suffering 5 losses in successive fights, including a 20-second knockout to middleweight Melvin Manhoef. When the UFC bought Pride in 2007, Hunt joined the promotion as part of the deal, but UFC President Dana White was so unfazed by the Kiwi, he did what he could to release him from his contract.
He could have taken the money, but he came in, he fought, earned that money, and then earned himself another contract. I have nothing but respect for him. I apologized at the last press conference for doubting him, and I give him nothing but props.
After losing his debut to Sean McCorkle, Hunt went through a tear through the heavyweight division, scoring wins over Stefan Struve and Roy Nelson before a 5-round war with Bigfoot Silva, considered one of the greatest in heavyweight history. Suddenly, the once ridiculed Hunt was now the most dangerous fighter in the UFC, and earning a shot at the interim heavyweight title against fellow comeback star Fabrizio Verdum. Despite losing the fight, Hunt's performance showed he belonged amongst the UFC's heavyweight elite, and after beating Derek Lewis earlier this year, all but secured his place as one of the sport's all-time legends. And at number 1, Robbie Lawler. Robbie Lawler is a name that strikes fear in the hearts of many fighters, an all-action brawler known for knockout power and 5-round wars against many of the sport's best, a complete turnaround from the lost soul nestled in the sport's doldrums for nearly a decade. Lawler began his UFC career as blue-chip rookie back in 2002, winning his first 3 fights with the promotion and painting himself as a future star of the middleweight division. The expectations, however, would prove too much, as Lawler found himself outmatched against higher level competition, going 1-3 in his next 4 fights and leaving him on the MMA scrap heap by the age of just 22. For the next 10 years, Lawler began a journeyman career, scoring 19 wins and 9 losses, competing in promotions around the world. Despite flashes of brilliance, Lawler was seen as little more than a gatekeeper by many of the sport's top brass, a reputation that followed him back to the UFC after the purchase of Strikeforce in 2012. A move to the welterweight division would reinvigorate Lawler's career, the Ruthless One winning 5 of his next 6 fights, including knockouts of Jake Ellenberger and Josh Koscheck. The run of form saw Lawler take on welterweight champ Johnny Hendricks at UFC 181. Hendricks got the better of Lawler when the two first met 10 months earlier, but this time the Californian would have the last laugh, Lawler winning a closely fought contest by split decision. In July 2015, Lawler took the fight that would define his career, when he took on Canada's Rory McDonald in the co-main of UFC 189. For over 20 minutes, Lawler and McDonald engaged in one of the most brutal fights ever seen in an octagon, Lawler finishing his bloodied opponent in the middle of the 5th round. Another 5-round epic would follow against Carlos Condit 6 months later, and helping secure Lawler's place as the greatest career turnaround in MMA history. Well, that's our opinion, but what about yourselves? Which fighters do you think have had the biggest turnarounds in MMA? Be sure to post your comments, like this video, and stay tuned to this channel. This is the INC, and thank you for watching.